Captain Dae-sung stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon and looked at the stars through the main window. 3 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. 3 long years of sitting quietly and listening to alien species tell humans what they could and could not do. The Horizon was Earth's first deep space diplomatic vessel. It was not the biggest ship, and it was not the most powerful. Other species laughed when they saw it. They called it primitive. They said humans were like children who just learned to walk. Dae-sung heard these insults every day, but he kept his face calm and said nothing. The bridge was quiet that morning. Lieutenant Hyojin sat at her station, monitoring communications from nearby star systems. She was young but very skilled at her job. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel as she checked frequencies and signals. Suddenly, Hyojin stopped moving. Her face went pale. "Captain," she said in a soft voice, "I'm picking up a distress beacon." Dae-sung walked over to her station. "Where is it coming from?" "Terran 9, Hyojin replied. "It's a colony world. Population of 6 million. The signal is weak and broken, but it's definitely a distress call." Dae-sung felt his chest tighten. "Try to establish contact. Send a message that we're coming to help." Hyojin tried for several minutes, but there was no response. Only silence. The kind of silence that made your skin feel cold. "Set course for Terran 9, Dae-sung ordered. "Maximum speed." The Horizon jumped through space, traveling faster than light. It took 2 hours to reach the Terran system. When they arrived, what they saw made everyone on the bridge stop breathing. Terran 9 was burning. The planet's surface glowed with fires that stretched across entire continents. The atmosphere was thick with dark smoke and poisonous gases. Debris floated in orbit. Pieces of destroyed satellites and defense platforms. "Scan for life signs," Dae-sung said quietly. Hyojin worked at her console, her hands shaking slightly. After a long minute, she looked up with tears in her eyes. "Nothing, Captain. No life signs anywhere on the planet. Everything is dead." Dae-sung closed his eyes for a moment. 6 million people. All gone. Check the planetary logs. Find out what happened here. The ship's computer analyzed data from the planet's surviving satellites. The answer came quickly and clearly. The Voscran Empire had attacked Terran 9 5 days ago. The reason was a dispute over mining rights. The Terran refused to give up their mineral deposits, so the Voscra decided to take them by force. But they did not just take the planet. They destroyed everything. Orbital weapons bombarded cities until nothing remained but craters. Chemical weapons poisoned the water and air. And when some Terran tried to escape in ships, the Voscra hunted them down and destroyed those ships too. It was not war. It was genocide. Cold, calculated, complete genocide. "Collect all the evidence," Dae-sung ordered. "Every scan, every image, every piece of data. We're taking this to the Galactic Council." The Horizon returned to Council space immediately. Dae-sung sent his report through official channels. He included everything: the scans, the satellite footage, the evidence of deliberate extermination. He expected the Council to act quickly. He expected justice. The response came 18 hours later. It was not what Dae-sung hoped for. The Galactic Council announced economic sanctions against the Voscran Empire. They limited some trade agreements. They issued a formal statement condemning the violence, and that was all. Council Director Thulvan sent a private message to Earth's delegation. Dae-sung read it with growing anger. The message said this was an internal matter between the Voscra and the Terran. It said Earth should respect established protocols and not interfere in conflicts between older species. It said the Council had handled the situation appropriately. 6 million dead. And the Council called it appropriate. Dae-sung immediately contacted Earth. The communication traveled through quantum relays, reaching the planet in seconds. President Jiwoo answered the call herself. President Jiwoo was a serious woman with sharp eyes and a strong voice. She had led Earth through its first contact with alien species and guided humanity's entry into galactic politics. She believed in diplomacy and peaceful solutions. But as she read Dae-sung's report, her expression grew darker and darker. "They're doing nothing," she said when she finished reading. "The Council is doing absolutely nothing." "Yes, Madam President," Dae-sung confirmed. "They say it's been handled with sanctions and a condemnation." Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Come home, Captain. We need to discuss this in person." 3 days later, Dae-sung sat in a conference room deep inside Earth Security Council headquarters. President Jiwoo was there. along with Admiral Minho, the head of Earth's military forces. Dr. Sung Min was also present. He was the director of military intelligence, a careful man who noticed everything. "Tell them what you found," Jiwoo said to Dr. Sung Min. Sung Min activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air, showing different planets and species. After Captain Dae-sung's report, I started investigating. Terran 9 was not the first genocide. In the past 10 years, there have been at least 4 other complete exterminations of intelligent species. The images changed, showing destroyed worlds and lists of casualties, millions and millions of dead. The Voscran killed the Terran over mining rights, Sung Min continued. The Krelvan wiped out the Yenith over a trade dispute. The Morthan eliminated the Kessin because they refused to share technology. And the list goes on. Each time the Galactic Council responded the same way. Sanctions, condemnations, nothing real, nothing that stopped it from happening again. Admiral Minho leaned forward. He was an old soldier with gray hair and scars on his hands. "They don't care," he said simply. "The Council only protects the powerful species. The weak ones are expendable. For 3 years we've played by their rules," Jiwoo said. Her voice was cold and controlled. "We accepted their insults. We limited our military. We acted like obedient children because we wanted to be part of their civilization. But this," she gestured at the images of dead worlds. "This is not civilization. This is barbarism with fancy words." Dae-sung spoke carefully. "What are you suggesting, Madam President?" Jiwoo looked at each person in the room. "I'm suggesting we stop pretending. We've been pretending that the Galactic Council represents justice and order. We've been pretending that playing by their rules will keep humanity safe. But if they allow genocide, if they look away when millions die, then their rules are worth nothing. They'll call us warmongers," Dr. Sung Min warned. "They'll say we're violent and dangerous." "Let them," Admiral Minho said with a grim smile. "We are dangerous. Humans have always been dangerous when we needed to be. We just forgot that for a while." President Jiwoo stood up. Her knuckles pressed against the table, turning white from the pressure. "The Voscran Empire committed genocide. They murdered 6 million innocent people for money and resources. They will face justice for this crime, and if the Galactic Council won't deliver that justice, then we will." She looked at Admiral Minho. "How long until our ships are ready?" Minho's smile grew wider. "They've been ready for 6 months, Madam President. We were just waiting for permission to stop pretending." "You have permission," Jiwoo said quietly. "Show the galaxy what happens when humanity stops being civilized." The Galactic Council had always thought humans were weak. They looked at Earth's military and saw old technology. Chemical rockets that burned fuel, kinetic weapons that fired metal bullets, nuclear warheads that used simple fission reactions. To species that had mastered plasma shields and antimatter weapons, humans seemed like primitives playing with sticks and stones. This was exactly what Earth wanted them to think. Commander Jae-hoon stood in the control center of Luna Base, watching as massive hangar doors opened across the moon's surface. He had worked on this project for 3 years, ever since Earth joined the Council. While diplomats smiled and bowed to alien leaders, engineers and scientists worked in secret, building something new. "All stations report ready," said the operations officer. Jae-hoon nodded. "Begin the deployment." One by one, ships emerged from underground facilities hidden in craters and valleys. They were not like the old Earth vessels the Council had seen. These were sleek and deadly, combining human engineering with alien technology that Earth had carefully studied and improved. 200 warships rose from the lunar surface, destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers filled with fighter craft. Each one carried weapons that the Council did not know existed. Each one had been built in absolute secrecy. "Beautiful," Jae-hoon whispered, watching the fleet assemble in formation. Back on Earth, President Jiwoo prepared to address the galaxy. She sat in a simple chair in front of a camera. No fancy decorations, no impressive background. Just her, speaking directly to every intelligent species in known space. The broadcast went out on all Council channels simultaneously. Every planet, every station, every ship received the message. They could not ignore it or block it. Earth's hackers had made sure of that. Jiwoo's face appeared on screens across the galaxy. She did not smile. She did not soften her words. "People of the Galactic Council," she began. "For 3 years, humanity has been a member of your organization. We followed your rules. We accepted your restrictions on our military. We listened when you called us primitive and dangerous. We tried to be good citizens of your galactic community. She paused, letting her words sink in. 5 days ago, the Voscran Empire committed genocide against the people of Terran 9. 6 million innocent beings were exterminated. Men, women, and children were burned alive or poisoned. Those who tried to escape were hunted down and killed. This was not war. This was murder on a massive scale. Images appeared behind her showing the destruction of Terran 9. Burning cities, poisoned atmospheres, fields of debris in orbit. We brought this evidence to the Galactic Council, Jiwoo continued. We expected justice. We expected the Council to act decisively against such a horrible crime. Instead, we received economic sanctions and a formal condemnation. Words on paper. Nothing that will bring back the dead. Nothing that will prevent it from happening again. Her voice grew colder. We have discovered that this is not the first time. 4 other species have been completely exterminated in the past decade. Each time, the Council responded with words and half measures. Each time, the killers went unpunished. The pattern is clear. The Galactic Council does not protect the weak. It protects the powerful, no matter what crimes they commit. Therefore, Jiwoo said, leaning forward slightly, humanity is issuing an ultimatum to the Voscran Empire. You will surrender every official, every military officer, and every individual who participated in the genocide of Terran 9. You will stand trial for crimes against sapient life. You will face true justice. You have 72 hours to comply. She let that statement hang in the air for a moment. If you refuse, if you believe your shields and weapons will protect you, then you will learn what humanity truly is. You will discover why we dominated our world despite being weaker than many of its predators. You will understand what it means when humans stop pretending to be civilized. Jiwoo looked directly into the camera, her eyes hard as steel, and to the Galactic Council. Any species that interferes with this justice will be considered an accomplice to genocide. You will share the Voscran Empire's fate. We are not asking for permission. We are not seeking your approval. We are done pretending that your rules matter when you allow innocent beings to be slaughtered. Earth has stopped playing by your rules. We have our own now. The first rule is simple. Genocide means extinction. No exceptions. No diplomatic immunity. No second chances. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings sat in stunned silence. Many thought it was a bluff. Humans could not possibly challenge the established powers of the Council. They were too small, too weak, too new. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in chaos. Ambassador Thulvan, the Council Director, demanded an emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species shouted and argued. Some called for immediate action against Earth, others urged caution. This is madness, Thulvan declared. The humans have violated every treaty, every protocol. They must be expelled from the Council immediately. Their homeworld must be quarantined. The Voscran ambassador, a large being with thick armor plates and multiple eyes, laughed at the ultimatum. Let them come. Our defenses have never been breached. Our fleet has conquered dozens of worlds. These primitive humans will break themselves against our shields, and then we will make them regret their arrogance. 72 hours passed. The Voscran Empire did not surrender anyone. Instead, they mobilized their fleet and prepared for war. They sent messages mocking Earth's demands and threatening terrible revenge. President Jiwoo received the Voscran response while sitting in the military command center. She read it once, then deleted it without expression. She looked at Admiral Minho, who stood nearby with his arms crossed. They refused, she said simply. I expected nothing else. Minho replied. Are we ready? Yes, Jiwoo confirmed. Give the order. Admiral Minho activated the communication system that connected him to every human warship in the fleet. 200 captains and commanders heard his voice simultaneously. All ships, he said clearly. You have your target. You have your mission. Execute Operation Reckoning. Show them what humanity truly is. In orbit around the moon, the Earth fleet activated their drives. Space warped around them as they prepared to jump. They would travel faster than light, crossing dozens of light years in seconds. Captain Dae-sung stood on the bridge of the horizon, now refitted with new weapons and shields. Lieutenant Hyojin checked her station one final time. Around them, 199 other ships prepared to jump. All ships report ready, Hyojin announced. Dae-sung took a deep breath. He thought about the 6 million dead on Terran 9. He thought about all the other species that had been exterminated while the Council did nothing. He thought about what humanity was about to do. "Jump," he ordered. 200 human warships vanished from lunar orbit. They reappeared seconds later in Voscran space, surrounding the Empire's homeworld. The aliens who had laughed at humanity's weakness were about to learn a terrible lesson. The humans were not playing anymore. The masks of civilization had been removed, and underneath those masks was something that had survived and dominated one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. The Voscra wanted to see what humans truly were. They were about to find out, and they were going to regret ever asking. The Voscran homeworld was considered one of the most protected planets in the galaxy. Its orbital defenses were legendary. Multiple layers of energy shields wrapped around the planet like invisible armor. Thousands of automated weapon platforms floated in carefully positioned arrays, each one capable of destroying a ship with a single shot. 300 Voscran warships formed a permanent garrison, always ready to defend their home. Military strategists from other species had studied these defenses for decades. The general agreement was simple. Attacking the Voscran homeworld would be suicide. Any invasion force would be destroyed long before reaching the planet's surface. The humans did not care what military strategists thought. Captain Daesung watched his tactical display as the human fleet emerged from their jump. 200 ships appeared in perfect formation, already moving at combat speed. The Voscran defense systems immediately detected them and alarms began screaming across the entire planet. "They're launching fighters," Lieutenant Hyojin reported. "Estimate 5,000 craft incoming. Their capital ships are moving to intercept. Shields are activating across all platforms." Daesung remained calm. He had studied the Voscran defenses for months. He knew their strengths and their weaknesses. More importantly, he knew they had never fought an enemy like humanity. "All ships," he broadcast to the fleet. "Execute Plan Alpha. Show them what we learned from Earth's history." The Voscran fleet moved into their traditional defensive formation. It was a tactic they had used for centuries. Ships arranged in a sphere around the planet, overlapping their shields to create an impenetrable barrier. It looked impressive. It had stopped every attack ever launched against them, but humans did not fight like other species. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other, developing tactics through countless brutal wars. They learned from every conflict, every defeat, every victory, and now they brought all that bloody experience to the stars. The human fleet did not charge forward in a unified assault. Instead, the ships scattered in seemingly random directions. Some dove toward the planet at steep angles. Others flew parallel to the defensive sphere. A third group actually retreated, moving away from the planet. The Voscran commanders were confused. This was not how space battles worked. Where was the formation? Where was the honor in such chaotic movement? Then the humans launched their first attack, and the Voscra stopped worrying about honor. Fighter craft emerged from the human carriers, but these were not ordinary fighters. Each one carried what humans called an EMP mine. When detonated near an energy shield, these devices created an electromagnetic pulse that disrupted the shield's harmonics. They did not destroy the shields, but they made them flicker and weaken for a few crucial seconds. Thousands of these small craft swarmed toward the Voscran defense platforms. The automated weapons opened fire, destroying hundreds of fighters in seconds, but there were too many, moving too fast, attacking from too many directions. The defense systems could not stop them all. Mines detonated across the entire defensive sphere. Energy shields flickered. Some collapsed completely for brief moments, and in those moments of weakness, the human destroyers struck. The destroyers did not use plasma weapons or antimatter missiles. They used railguns, simple kinetic weapons that fired solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. The Voscran shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They were much less effective against physical projectiles moving at several kilometers per second. Metal slugs tore through weakened shields and smashed into defense platforms. Explosions bloomed across orbital space as platforms disintegrated into debris. The legendary Voscran defenses were failing, and the battle had only just begun. The Voscran fleet moved to engage the human ships, but the humans refused to fight the way the Voscra expected. When Voscran ships charged, human ships retreated and fired long-range missiles. When the Voscra formed defensive lines, human ships circled around and attacked from behind. When the Voscra split their forces, human ships concentrated fire on isolated groups. It was not honorable. It was not glorious. It was effective. Commander Jae-hoon led a squadron of human cruisers in a diving attack toward the planet's equator. Voscran battleships moved to intercept, their massive weapons charging. At the last moment, Jae-hoon's squadron scattered. Half the ships went high, half went low. The Voscran weapons fired at empty space. Now, Jae-hoon ordered. His ships released their main payload, thousands of autonomous drones. Each drone was basically a guided missile with basic intelligence. They were too small for the big weapons to target effectively, and there were far too many for point defense systems to stop. The drones swarmed the Voscran battleships like angry insects. They targeted engines, weapons, shield generators, communication arrays. Explosions rippled across the massive alien vessels. Within minutes, 3 battleships were disabled and drifting. Lieutenant Hyo-jin coordinated the cyber warfare attack from the horizon. She was not fighting with weapons but with code, with viruses, with digital warfare that the Voscra barely understood. Human hackers had spent 3 years studying galactic computer systems. They found weaknesses everywhere. Viruses flooded into Voscran networks. Command and control systems crashed. Targeting computers displayed false information. Communications between ships became garbled and useless. The Voscran fleet was blind, deaf, and confused. Their shield generator satellites are exposed, Hyo-jin reported. Sending coordinates now. Admiral Minho, commanding the battle from the battleship Retribution, received the data and smiled. All heavy ships target those satellites. Remove their shields entirely. Earth's battleships opened fire with their main weapons. These were not elegant energy beams. They were magnetic accelerators that launched projectiles the size of buses at a significant fraction of light speed. When these projectiles hit their targets, the results were catastrophic. One by one, the satellites generating the planet's energy shields exploded. The protective layers around the Voscran homeworld began to collapse. Within 2 hours, half the planet was exposed. Within 4 hours, the shields were gone completely. The Voscran military command sent an emergency broadcast to all Council species begging for help. They described the human attack in panicked voices. They said humans fought without honor, without rules, without mercy. They called it barbaric. No one came to help them. The Galactic Council was watching the battle with growing horror, but they were not ready to intervene. Not yet. Captain Dae-sung received a transmission from the Voscran Emperor himself. Emperor Kulrath appeared on the screen, his multiple eyes blazing with fury. "You dare attack us?" Kulrath roared. "We are an ancient empire. We have conquered dozens of worlds. You are nothing but primitive savages who learned to fly." Dae-sung looked at the Emperor calmly. "You murdered 6 million people on Terran 9, men, women, and children. You poisoned their world and hunted down those who tried to escape. You did this for mining rights, for money. They refused to obey," Kulrath shouted. "They were weak and we were strong. That is how the galaxy works." "Not anymore," Dae-sung said quietly. "Surrender those responsible for the genocide. Face justice, or face extinction. This is your last chance." Emperor Kulrath's laugh was ugly and cruel. "We will never surrender to you. Our reserves are rallying. Our allies are coming. You may have surprised us, but you cannot win. You are too few, too weak. We will crush you, and then we will burn your pathetic Earth until nothing remains." Dae-sung closed the channel without another word. He looked at his crew. "The Emperor has made his choice. Admiral Minho, the planet is yours." Admiral Minho had been waiting for this. All ships begin orbital bombardment. Target every military installation, every government complex, every symbol of Voscran imperial power. Avoid civilian centers. We are not murderers like them. But show them what happens when they refuse justice. The human fleet moved into bombardment positions. Their weapons locked onto targets across the planet's surface. What followed was not genocide. It was the systematic destruction of military power. Kinetic projectiles fell from orbit like the wrath of angry gods. Military bases vanished in massive explosions. Government buildings collapsed into rubble. Weapons factories burst into flames. The Voscran Empire, which had murdered millions without mercy, watched their power crumble in a matter of hours. Emperor Kulrath watched from his command center as reports came in. Every military asset destroyed, every defense system offline, every source of imperial authority reduced to ruins. His empire was not destroyed, but its ability to wage war was gone completely. "Enough," he whispered. "Enough, we surrender." The surrender of the Voscran Empire sent shockwaves across the galaxy. An ancient power, one of the strongest military forces in known space, had been defeated in less than 6 hours by a species that most considered primitive. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore what was happening. Council Director Tulvan called an emergency session. Representatives from over 50 species gathered in the council chambers, their voices loud with anger and fear. Some demanded immediate action against Earth, others urged caution. A few, mostly smaller species who had lived in fear of larger powers, remained silent, but watched everything with hope in their eyes. "This cannot be tolerated," declared the representative from the Krelvon hierarchy. "The humans have violated every law of civilized warfare. They attacked without council approval. They must be punished." Ambassador Thulvan raised his manipulator appendages for silence. "I agree. The humans have gone too far. They claim to seek justice, but they seek only war and chaos. We must respond with strength, or every lesser species will think they can challenge council authority." "Lesser species?" asked a quiet voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned. It was the representative from Yeneth, one of the smaller council members. Her species had lost their colony world to Krelvon aggression 5 years ago. "The council had done nothing. You call us lesser," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "But we follow your rules. We accept your judgments. We die when you decide our lives are worth less than trade agreements. Perhaps the humans are showing us what real justice looks like." "Silence," Tulvan snapped. "This session is about addressing the human threat, not reopening settled matters." But the small representative did not stay silent. "Settled? My people were expelled from our ancestral home. Millions became refugees. The council gave us words of sympathy and did nothing else. Now the Voscran murder an entire world, and again you do nothing. The humans are the only ones acting like justice matters." Other small species began voicing agreement, the chamber filled with voices that had been quiet for too long. The larger, more powerful species grew alarmed. This was not supposed to happen. The small ones were supposed to accept their place. Admiral Thulvan slammed his appendage on the podium. "Enough. The council will not be dictated to by minor members. 6 species have agreed to send military forces to Voscran space. We will restore order and show the humans the cost of defying the council. 6 species, 2,000 warships, the largest military force assembled in decades. They would jump to Voscran space, remove the human fleet by force, and put Earth back in its place." The vote passed easily, with only the smallest species voting against or abstaining. President Jiwoo received word of the council fleet's mobilization while reviewing reports from the Voscran homeworld. Captain Dae-sung had sent detailed lists of war criminals who were being arrested and prepared for trial. It was progress. It was justice. And now the council wanted to stop it. She called another emergency meeting with her advisors. Admiral Minho, Dr. Sung-min, and Commander Jae-hoon all gathered in the secured conference room. 2,000 ships, Jiwoo said, looking at the tactical display. 6 species. They're calling it a peacekeeping operation, but we know what it really is. They want to protect their system where the strong can do whatever they want to the weak. Can we win? Jiwoo asked directly. Admiral Minho studied the numbers. In a conventional battle? No, we have 200 ships. They have 2,000. The mathematics are not in our favor. But, Jiwoo prompted, hearing the unspoken word. Minho smiled slightly. But we don't fight conventional battles. Dr. Sung-min has analyzed their tactics, their strategies, their command structures. They follow predictable patterns. They believe in honor and formal rules of engagement. We believe in winning. Dr. Sung-min activated additional displays. Every council species fights the same way they have for centuries. They form battle lines. They issue challenges. They follow protocols that make warfare predictable and controlled. It's how they maintain order and status. But it also makes them vulnerable to anyone who refuses to play by those rules. What are you suggesting? Jiwoo asked. Asymmetric warfare, Sung-min replied. We can't match their numbers, but we can make their numbers irrelevant. We hit their supply lines. We disrupt their communications. We divide their forces and attack isolated groups. We make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Commander Jae-hoon leaned forward. We also have an advantage they don't know about. For 3 years, we've been installing backdoors in galactic communication systems. We can listen to their tactical channels. We can inject false information. We can make them see things that aren't there. Jiwoo considered this carefully. If we fight the Council fleet and win, there's no going back. We'll be at war with most of the galaxy. We're already at war, Admiral Minho said quietly. They just haven't admitted it yet. The question is whether we fight on our knees, begging for scraps of justice, or we fight standing up, showing them what humanity really is. President Jiwoo stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Earth below. Beautiful blue and green, home to 8 billion humans who trusted her to keep them safe. She thought about the 6 million dead on Terran 9. She thought about all the other species exterminated while the Council looked away. She thought about what kind of galaxy she wanted humanity to live in. Send a message to the Council fleet, she said, turning back to her advisors. One last warning. An hour later, every ship in the Council fleet received an urgent transmission. President Jiwoo's face appeared on their screens. Warriors of the Galactic Council, she began. You are heading to Voscran space to stop humanity from delivering justice. You call this a peacekeeping mission. I call it what it really is, an attempt to maintain a system where genocide goes unpunished. I am giving you this one warning. Turn back now. Return to your homes. Let justice proceed. If you interfere, if you try to stop us, you will face the consequences. We do not want to fight you, but we will not back down. Her expression hardened. You think you know what humans are. You think we are weak because we have not shown our full strength. You are wrong. We dominated one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. We survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and our own constant warfare. We learned to fight from thousands of years of conflict, and now we bring all of that experience to the stars. You have 6 species in your fleet, 6 different command structures, 6 different tactical doctrines, 6 different ideas of how to fight. You will argue with each other. You will compete for glory. You will follow outdated protocols because that is all you know. We are one species, one command, one purpose. We fight to win and we do not care about your rules. Jiwoo leaned closer to the camera. So I am telling you plainly, turn back or learn what it means when humans stop pretending to be civilized. We will show you why Earth's history is written in blood. We will show you why our planet produced so many words for war. We will show you what prey animals can do when they refuse to run anymore. This is your only warning. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. The Council fleet did not turn back. They continued toward Voscran space, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They believed humanity was bluffing. They believed that 200 ships could not possibly defeat 2,000. Captain Bo Young commanded the Earth Defense Fleet that waited at the edge of Voscran space. She was young for a captain, but she had proven herself in simulations and training. Now she would prove herself in real combat. Enemy fleet dropping out of FTL in 30 seconds, her tactical officer reported. Bo Young took a deep breath. Behind her, 200 human warships waited in the darkness of space. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they had something the Council fleet did not have. They knew how to fight dirty. All ships, Bo Young broadcast. Remember your training, stick to the plan, and show them what happens when you challenge humanity. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 6 species arranged in their traditional battlesphere. It was beautiful. It was impressive. It was exactly what the humans expected. Lieutenant Su Jin sat in her fighter craft waiting with hundreds of other pilots. She was nervous but ready. She had trained for this moment her entire career. She checked her weapons one last time. All fighters, came the order. Launch. Thousands of human fighters poured from the carriers like a swarm of angry insects. They did not form neat squadrons or follow predictable attack patterns. They scattered in all directions, each one carrying weapons designed for one purpose, to kill ships much larger than themselves. The Council fleet opened fire. Their weapons were powerful and precise. They destroyed hundreds of fighters in the first minute. But thousands more kept coming, moving too fast, attacking from too many angles, refusing to fight the way the Council expected. The Battle of Voscran space had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's place in the universe would not be decided by the Council's rules. It would be decided by humanity's willingness to do whatever was necessary to survive. The Battle of Voscran space lasted 3 days. 3 days of chaos that changed the galaxy forever. The Council fleet had numbers and power. 2,000 ships with shields and weapons that could destroy planets. 6 proud species working together to restore order. They expected a quick victory followed by negotiations where humanity would accept its place in the galactic hierarchy. They were wrong about everything. Captain, Bo Young commanded the human forces with cold precision. She did not try to fight the Council fleet directly. Instead, she made them fight themselves. When the Council formed their battle sphere, human ships scattered into small groups. When Council commanders tried to chase these groups, they found themselves separated from the main fleet. When they tried to regroup, human fighters appeared from nowhere and attacked their weakest points. The 6 species in the Council fleet began arguing almost immediately. The Krelvan wanted aggressive pursuit. The Morthan preferred defensive formations. The Gelvan believed in honor challenges. The Rothans wanted to use overwhelming firepower. The Kelman tried to coordinate everything diplomatically. And the Torval simply wanted to prove they were stronger than everyone else. Dr. Sungmin's cyber warfare team exploited every disagreement. They hacked into Council communication channels and injected false orders. Krelvan ships received messages telling them to advance. Morthan ships got orders to hold position. Gelvan commanders heard challenges that were never issued. The Council fleet became confused and divided. Their southern formation is isolated. Lieutenant Su Jin reported from her fighter. 400 ships separated from the main fleet. Bo Young saw the opportunity immediately. All battleships target that formation. Hit them hard and fast. Earth's heavy ships appeared from behind a moon, weapons already charged. They fired at maximum range with their kinetic weapons and missiles. The isolated Council ships scrambled to respond, but they were facing the wrong direction and their commanders were receiving conflicting orders. 40 Council ships were destroyed in the first 2 minutes. 100 more were damaged. The survivors retreated toward the main fleet, but human fighters pursued them like wolves chasing wounded prey. On the second day of battle, the Council tried a different approach. They sent their fastest ships to attack the human supply vessels. It was a smart tactical move. Without supplies, the human fleet could not sustain combat operations. But the humans had anticipated this. The supply ships were not where the Council expected them. Instead, they were hidden in asteroid fields and behind gas giants, protected by defensive platforms and stealth fields. When Council ships came hunting for supplies, they found traps instead. Commander Jae-hoon led the counterattack. His squadron had been waiting in the asteroid field for exactly this kind of move. When the Council ships entered the field, searching for human supply lines, Jae-hoon's ships powered up their weapons. Now, he ordered simply. Asteroids that seemed natural were actually weapons platforms. They activated all at once, catching the Council ships in crossfire. Mines that had been disguised as debris exploded. Human ships emerged from hiding spots and attacked at close range. The Council hunting party was annihilated. Only a handful of ships escaped to report what happened. The survivors told stories of humans who fought without honor, who used tricks and deception, who cared nothing for the proper way to conduct warfare. They were right. Humans did not care about proper warfare. They cared about winning. By the third day, the Council fleet was in chaos. 400 ships destroyed. 300 more damaged so badly they had to withdraw. Supply lines disrupted. Communications compromised. Command structure breaking down as different species blamed each other for the failures. Admiral Minho watched the tactical display from Earth and allowed himself a small smile. They're breaking. One more push should do it. President Jiwoo stood beside him. What do you recommend? Their flagship, Minho replied. The Council fleet is commanded from the Valorium, the Gelvan dreadnought. It's the largest ship in their fleet and the most heavily defended. If we can take it out, their command structure will collapse completely. Can we reach it? Jiwoo asked. With the right pilot and enough motivation, yes. Lieutenant Sujin received her orders personally from Admiral Minho. She listened carefully, her face pale but determined. It was a suicide mission and everyone knew it. I understand, sir, she said quietly. I'll do it. You don't have to, Minho told her. We can find volunteers. Sujin shook her head. I saw the footage from Terran 9. I saw what the Voscra did to those people. Someone needs to show the Council that actions have consequences. I volunteer. 12 hours later, Sujin piloted her fighter toward the center of the Council fleet. She was not alone. 1,000 other fighters accompanied her, all volunteers who understood they probably would not survive. Their mission was simple: reach the Valorium and destroy it. The Council defenses were massive. Thousands of automated weapons, hundreds of defending fighters, energy shields that could withstand orbital bombardment. The Valorium sat at the center of the fleet like a queen protected by her army. The human fighters came in fast and low, using debris and destroyed ships for cover. Council weapons fired continuously, filling space with explosive rounds and energy beams. Fighters died by the dozens, but the survivors kept coming. Sujin's fighter was hit twice, but she kept flying. Her shields were failing. Her left engine was damaged. But she could see the Valorium ahead, massive and powerful. She thought about those 6 million dead on Terran 9. She thought about all the other species the Council had failed to protect. For Terran, she whispered, her fighter and 200 others reached the Valorium's shields. They did not try to blast through. Instead, they rammed directly into the shield generators, detonating their remaining missiles and fuel on impact. It was an old tactic, one used by human pilots in Earth's ancient wars, suicide attacks that shields could not fully stop. The Valorium's shields flickered and failed. For 30 seconds, the massive dreadnought was vulnerable. That was all the time the human fleet needed. Every long-range weapon in the human fleet fired at once. Kinetic rounds, missiles, railgun slugs, everything focused on one target. The Valorium's armor was strong, but it could not withstand such concentrated firepower. The ship broke apart in a series of massive explosions. The Council fleet's command structure collapsed immediately. Without central coordination, the 6 species began acting independently. Some tried to continue fighting. Others retreated. A few attempted to negotiate. The battle was over. Admiral Minho sent one final message to the surviving Council ships. This is Admiral Minho of Earth. Your flagship is destroyed. Your fleet is broken. Withdraw now, or we will continue to destroy you. This is your only chance. The Council ships retreated. They jumped away to their home systems, carrying with them reports of the battle. 400 Council ships destroyed. Human losses, 87 ships. It was a victory that should have been impossible, but humans had never cared much about what was supposed to be possible. The aftermath of the battle reshaped galactic civilization. The Galactic Council held an emergency session, but this time the tone was very different. The large, powerful species were no longer dictating terms. The small species were speaking up, demanding change. President Jiwoo addressed the Council personally. She traveled to Council space on the horizon, now damaged from battle but still flying. She stood before the representatives and spoke without fear. The old order is dead, she began. You created a system where the powerful could do anything to the weak, where genocide was punished with words instead of action, where justice was something for the rich and strong, not the poor and vulnerable. That system failed. It failed the Terran. It failed the Yeneth. It failed the Kessin. It failed everyone who needed protection and received only empty sympathy. Humanity is establishing a new organization. We call it the Terran Accord. It has one founding principle. Genocide means extinction. No exceptions. No diplomatic immunity. No political considerations. If you deliberately exterminate an intelligent species, you will face total war from every member of the Accord. She looked around the chamber. Any species can join. Any world that believes sapient life is sacred. Any civilization that thinks justice should apply to everyone, not just the powerful. We are not asking for permission from this council. We are offering an alternative to it. Join us, Jiwoo said quietly. Help us build something better. Or stay with the old ways and watch as more worlds burn while you debate proper protocols. 40 species joined the Terran Accord within the first month. Most were smaller civilizations who had lived in fear of larger powers. They saw in humanity something they had lost, the will to fight for what was right regardless of the cost. The Voscran Empire was dissolved. Its war criminals faced public trials and were executed for genocide. The Empire's territory was divided among the surviving Terran refugees and other displaced species. Emperor Kolrath spent his final days in a cell, watching as everything he built was torn down. 4 other species that had committed genocide faced similar reckonings. Human fleets appeared in their space with the same message: surrender those responsible or face war. All 4 surrendered. They had seen what happened to the Voscra and the Council fleet.